Okay, I hope you're ready, because today we have the TILTA FLOAT versus the EASYRIG MiniMax Stable Light. All right, let's go ahead and put these puppies head to head and see which one is the best for you and your gimbal. All right, all you gimbal operators out there know that the fourth axis, that bounce you get from your steps, is something that your gimbals don't really eliminate, and it's something that most of us really would like to see taken away and fixed. And today we're looking at two of the main kind of solutions for that. That is going to be the TILTA FLOAT and the EASYRIG MiniMax Stable Light. Both of them are purported to eliminate that fourth axis and to do it better than others. They have different strengths, different weaknesses, really completely different systems, but I want to go and take a look at them because they are so different. Oh, hey, and do me a favor, if you find this interesting, do me a favor and like and subscribe to this channel. It makes a gigantic difference in allowing me to keep on making this channel and keep bringing you content like this. All right, so let's start off right away and talk about the price differential between these two systems, because it's pretty substantial. The EASYRIG runs in at $24.45, whereas the TILTA FLOAT comes in at $13.49. That's over $1,000 difference. However, looks can be very, very deceiving in this situation, because that $1,000 difference really doesn't exist. Because trust me, we're going to talk about this more in a second, but if you get a TILTA FLOAT, be prepared. This is not something you're going to buy and take out of the bag and use it. You're going to have to spend a lot of money to modify your float to get it up to speed. I ended up spending almost $1,000 getting everything I needed for it to get it up and ready to work in a professional setting. So that's one of those things. If you look at this on paper, it may look at first that the TILTA FLOAT is $1,000 cheaper. However, when you put them all together and actually have to go through all the final modifications you need to go through, you will find that the two systems come out almost even as far as cost. I'd also like to point out, if you're interested in getting a TILTA FLOAT, please do yourself a favor, go check out the YouTube channel, Camera Rigging Mods. It is an incredible channel, and Vaho will show you everything you could ever want to get your TILTA FLOAT up to speed on a professional setting. Okay, so now that I've covered the price, I do want to kind of go a little deeper and talk about kind of out of the box. What you get out of the box between these two systems is very different, and it's an important consideration for you to understand. Now, when you start off with the EASYRIG, I mean, it comes in a bag, and literally you can open up the bag, dial in the settings here, and be shooting within 5 to 6 minutes. It is really that fast. Very, very simple and very, very intuitive. It is what it is. It works great out of the bag. The only thing I've ever really modified on my EASYRIG was sometimes when I take, you know, the tilter ring like this and I max it out with a bunch of stuff, I'll be right on the edge of the weight limit. So I'll take a super clamp and I might put it up here on the top just to keep it from slipping back a little bit. That's literally the only modification I've ever had to do to my EASYRIG. And you know, some of you may be looking at this too and say, well, Bryan, you're using a tilter ring. I am using a tilter ring because this is how, when I'm working on bigger sets, it allows me to hook up all my stuff on there in an easy way. But if you're someone that doesn't want to deal with a tilter ring and still wants to use an EASYRIG with just the plain DJI RS3, you can absolutely do that too. I've actually made another video. I'll put a link up here in case you're interested in seeing that video. Now, when it comes to getting out of the box of the TILTA FLOAT, this is where things get kind of interesting. Now, the whole thing about the TILTA FLOAT is it is just a really, really interesting system with incredible potential kind of baked into it. It's a great design. It's got a great price point with it. But you have to realize this system just feels like it wasn't fully baked when TILTA released it. And what I mean by that is that in order to maximize the system and really unlock what it can do, you're going to need to make sure you dedicate time and money modifying it to get it up to its full speed and potential. You know, I would not expect anyone to buy the TILTA FLOAT kit as it currently comes and expect to use it in any kind of prolonged professional setting. You're going to definitely need to add modifications to it, whereas the EASYRIG is basically ready to roll as soon as you open it up. All right, so let's go ahead now and take a look at ease of use of these two systems. Now, the EASYRIG, that's pretty straightforward. I mean, it's basically an EASYRIG in a support system. You can see I can take my hands off the system. It'll hold it there completely easy. Now, to actually dial it in, it's actually extremely simple. If you look on the back here, there's a dial on the back. You can literally just dial that in to get the tension. And then up here for the fourth axis, there's another dial up here that allows you to control the tension up here on this fourth axis tension. That's pretty much it. Not a lot to it. Now, you can do this by yourself. I find it is easier just to go fast to have an assistant, but if you're by yourself, it is something you can do it. And the good news is once you dial it in, it's basically good all day. And it makes things so easy because it's kind of like taking gravity off of your hands. It moves all this weight down to the hips, making your gimbal an absolute super simple thing to use and taking your mind off of the actual control and more on the composition. Now, when it comes to ease of use for the TILTA FLOAT, well, I mean, because this is based on a Steadicam kind of philosophy, the TILTA is definitely a much more complicated system to get set up than the EASYRIG. Now, this is not a bad thing because the results you get from a Steadicam when you get it balanced are simply amazing, but it is something you need to be prepared for. Do not expect to rent this thing for a day and get good results from it. You're going to need to practice, you're going to need to train on the TILTA. And this is not a knock against the Float at all, but it's definitely something you should be made aware before using it. So when you get this is a skill set that you're going to pick up. It's not just a tool, it's a skill set, and you need to be aware of that when you're picking up a TILTA FLOAT. All right, now let's talk about comfort, because when you get down to it, the two systems have different base levels of comfort. Now, EasyRigs are known for making your life more comfortable, and the EasyRig Minimax is incredibly comfortable. It's also very, very easy to adjust to your body size. So what that means is you can wear this all day long with no discomfort. I have worn my EasyRig on set for up to 10 hours at a time and not had any issues with it. It's one of my favorite pieces of equipment. It has saved my back, and it's one of the reasons why EasyRigs are so loved throughout the industry. They are comfortable and they save your body. Now, I have heard of some people with maybe bigger sizes, like over 6'3" or something like that, or maybe they're bigger girth. They do have some issues with the fitting. I'm only 5'8", so it's always worked for me. But if you're maybe like a really big person, you may want to take that into consideration. But if you're just a more quote-unquote average size person, I've never had a problem with it whatsoever. And when you come to comfort for the TILTA FLOAT, well, unfortunately, this is by far, out of the box, the TILTA's weakest point. I mean, this thing comes with just this belt, no harness or anything, and the belt that comes included when it has no shoulder harness, honestly, it's pretty close to a torture device if you're operating this for long periods. It is very, very uncomfortable. The back support does not come up high enough. You're going to have to modify this. Now, that being said, luckily the belt is easily modified to include a TILTA shoulder strap and harness, and you can modify the back support with a cheap cheese plate. And once you add those modifications to it, you get much greater comfort and length of use from it. So I would say out of the box, the comfort from the TILTA is very, very uncomfortable. But that being said, it is easily modified to get it to a point where you can wear it comfortably for an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours at a time if you need to, and keep going with it. Okay, so the next thing I do want to focus on is flexibility of these two systems, because each system gives you different levels of flex depending on where you want to go. Now, where the EasyRig really shines is if you're on a situation where you're, say, on a big set, you have a lot of people you got to communicate, and you need to basically max out your gimbal. You need to put a V-mount on here. You need to put a wireless monitor. You need to follow focus. You need all these things, extra monitors for yourself up here. You'll need to get a ring system to do that, and you're going to want to have a support system to help you do it. What the EasyRig does, it allows you the flexibility to really just maximize out your system, but it takes all the weight off you so you can still be super smooth and easy as you're going and shooting. That is really the flexibility that the EasyRig does. That being said, if you want a lot of like really smooth movement, say high to low, or let's say you want to shoot over your shoulder, EasyRig isn't really designed as well for that. It's not quite as smooth. I mean, if someone's walking and talking behind you, you can kind of put it back there, but I sometimes find this to be a little more awkward to do. I have to get a monitor on a Magic Arm out here. It's really difficult, not really the most fluid or smooth thing to do. And also, the fourth axis, it does dampen a movement, but it doesn't give you that kind of floaty thing you get from a Steadicam. So if you need that, the flexibility from that isn't going to be as much for an EasyRig. This is about making the rig easier to handle and easier to roll with. Now, when you're talking about flexibility on the float, this is where the system, in my opinion, just really, really shines. And being able to beautifully and gracefully move your camera in these smooth, fluid motions, especially when you're talking about height changes. Now, in my experience, the height changes can be so fluid that honestly, if you're in a situation, it actually can replace actually having a small jib on set. So it's a lot of flexibility with that. And it also shines in being able to give you can shoot in a complete 360 fashion to get it. If you're in a situation where, let's say you have someone walking toward the camera, well, all I got to do, I can just turn it around and boom. I can easily walk forward while the camera's pointing backwards. I can look down and monitor forward. And this gives me a lot more stability in my shot, and it also adds safety when I'm on set because I'm walking forward and monitoring. You know, if you find yourself in a situation where you have a lot of walk and talks, or maybe people are walking toward the camera and you want that smooth movement going forward, this is where the system really, really is amazing. In my opinion, it's one of the all-time great strengths of this system. So this ability to get this camera pointed in any way you want. Let's say you want to do a side tracking shot. Very, very easy. You want to go front, you can do that. You want to change height, you can do it. The flexibility that the float brings to your camera and your camera movements is unparalleled, and really, really goes so much further than anything you can get from an EasyRig. Okay, now that I've covered all the aspects of these two systems, it's time to look at the actual results in camera because, hey, that's all that really matters at the end of the day, right? I also did what I think is kind of a tougher test, which I basically was on uneven ground doing a straight walk forward to stuff with horizontal lines. I realized that because this is the internet, I'm gonna inevitably be criticized for my technique in these tests by someone out there. So I wanna categorize my experience with these systems as this. Although I would not purport myself to be like a master Steadicam operator or anything like that, I do have a lot of real world experience on sets getting paid with them. And that kind of allows me to give you what I believe is kind of an honest, average, sort of everyday Joe experience that I think most people realistically using these systems are going to go through. So that's going to be my perspective I bring. Now I think if you look at the EasyRig Stable Light, you will find that it does dampen the fourth axis a bit, but I think the key word here is dampen. It does not remove or eliminate those fourth axis bumps. So if you're looking for some magic solution from the EasyRig to remove the footsteps, you're kind of out of luck. That's not really what it's done. I mean, the EasyRig is more about smoothing out your handheld and gimbal footage rather than removing that fourth step. And that's really what it is. I mean, remember, the EasyRig is a support system first and foremost, and it's like the fourth axis there is just there to help you, but it's not going to remove it. Now, if you go over the TILTA FLOAT, this is where it really shines once you get it up and set. There is no doubt, in my opinion, that the Steadicam arm of the system gets you more of that beautiful float and attacks the fourth axis much better. Now, I'm not perfect on this. I was on uneven ground, and honestly, it was 17 degrees when I was doing the test, so I was cold, but you can see just how smooth it is. It's not completely removing the fourth axis, but it does make it much, much smoother and gets you that beautiful classic Steadicam float that you may want. Now, all that being said, remember, these two tests are as bare bones as it gets. There's no instabilization, and I didn't use something like a Segway that could have helped me out anymore. This is just to show you how the systems work as a base of operation. All right, so there you go. That is basically all the stuff I had to kind of find and say about these two systems. And yeah, this was a really fun test for me to do. And based on my experience with both of these in real world sets, honestly, I know you all want me to find a really clear-cut winner, but I really had a hard time doing that. And the reason for that is because I really find that each of these systems, they're just designed for different needs. So I think if you're in a situation where you're considering about getting either one of these tools, you really need to decide which one works best for the workflow and the reality of what you often find yourself on set. Are you looking for a super comfortable tool that will serve as an aid and basically requires minimum fuss, no worry? Then the EasyRig's probably going to be the one for you. However, if you're someone that needs movement flexibility and really want that Steadicam look, and you're ready to spend hours and weeks learning and acquiring a new skill set, then the Float may be the tool that you need to go. So I mean, really, both of these tools, man, they're amazing. Amazing systems, and they've both personally added a ton of value to me on set when I've used them. And if I had to pick just one, as hard as it would be, I would probably tend to lean toward the EasyRig just because I think it is more accessible for more people. That being said, there are going to definitely be times when the best way to get the shot is going to be using a float. Anyway, guys, I'd love to hear what you have to say with this. Leave me any notes and comments down below. Yeah, go out there, keep on shooting, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon.